Hello, beautiful souls. Victoria Bador here from Soul Healing Tribe. And today we have Natalie Delane from Embark Life Coaching. So I'm super excited. So tell us, Natalie, let's just jump right in. What is the best thing that clients get from working with you?
Yeah, I love that you're asking this right away. I would say clarity is like the first mini step, but then they have breakthroughs. And then it's like they have this new way of thinking, this new path, and the result of whatever it is that their goal was happens. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it seems to like after 6 months of most people working with me, they're like, oh, I didn't realize. And now I have this clear idea. They have like a moment
Mm.
of like, oh my goodness, and then their goal like comes to them within a few months and hard work, of course. But I say that like breakthrough to the end result of their goal is what they get.
Wow. So people are coming because they are in confusion, in a confusion
Yep.
state where they
Yep.
need to make big decisions. It sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. So I look at it as like they just feel stuck. And I know a lot of people use this word, but feeling stuck just means like you don't know where to go and you're being pulled in one direction, the other direction, and nothing, there's no clear path. I think that's the best way to put it. And so I love meeting these people that have this like, I don't know where to go, getting them clear on what they really want. Because sometimes what we want isn't what we really want. It's the external voices and parents or
Yeah.
partner. So getting that clarity on what they really want and then getting that straight path to it.
Wow. So before we continue, give us a little bit of your story, your background.
Yeah. I'm an ex-New Yorker, born, raised, lived there for about 30, almost 40 years. I left. I couldn't take it. It was great when it was great, but then it just got so bad. And I was one of those people that I describe as stuck. Like I was unhappy with my work. I was working 50 to 60 hours in one week. I was burnt out all the time. I would go home and pass out. And this, I was young, like 20s and 30s, but I was so
Wow.
overworked and tired. I didn't have meaningful connections, like intimate, meaningful connections.
Mm.
I couldn't sustain my happiness. And I think this was like the biggest aha for me. I was like, I would be happy for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and then I'd go into like a deep depression. And then it just kept happening. One day I was on vacation. I was in Costa Rica, which is where my family's from. It was New Year's Eve. I was on the beach and I was like, it just came. I need to leave New York. I left New York. I came to South Florida and I started this great journey of like delving within. And I like to say, like, I could finally hear my own heart. Like I was so much in my
Mm.
head in New York because I was doing, go, 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 produce, work. I never had time to like listen to my heart. So I finally got
Wow.
like this, like, what does my heart want? And then it started books, meditation, courses, transformation journeys, like you name it, I did almost all of it. And it really, really, really transformed my life. And I was like, wait a minute, if I can do this, anyone can do this. And I kind of got empowered by my journey, which led me to get my certification in life coaching and kind of led me to just be that propeller, that catalyst that helps other people transform their lives.
Yeah,
Because no one can transform your life except you. But can you have
that's right.
people to like point you in the right direction? So I would say that's what got me here.
That's such a beautiful story to like really connect with your heart and like that synergy between the heart and the mind and
Yeah.
the journey. Like it's really is a journey to get there. And then once you're there, you're like, wow, I cannot believe that I was operating from this
Yeah.
previous perception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So how long have you been practicing as a life coach?
So as a life coach, almost weekly, I post on social media and any different topics from self-awareness to confidence to public speaking to dreams to nightmares, you name it, all the things that make us alive and that are can be challenging at times. Like I usually post like an aha moment or a client lesson or a lesson that I had. I also see clients on a weekly basis virtually since COVID. I started seeing people in person, but now it's pretty much virtual, which is great because I've had clients in Germany, in Ohio, like all over the world, which is really nice. So a lot of times my clients teach me, like when the clients come to me, it tends to be in themes. which is really cool. Right now, the theme that's been coming up is interpersonal communication, right? Like, how do I
Mm,
really communicate what's this in here with compassion and love to the person that needs to hear it? So I talk about communication. My clients often teach me a lot too, and I take what's in the session, not their personal stories, but what the themes are, and I share. I talk about them a lot.
right, right. So, and how long have you been doing this?
It's
How long have you been a life coach?
Yeah, 5 years. This is gonna be my fifth year. I'm so excited. It feels like
Congratulations.
Thank you. It feels like yesterday because like it was a dream, right? Like I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I wanted something different. And then like now I'm here. Like I have a website. I have podcasts. Like it's such an incredible gift. And I'm really glad that I heard God tell me like, hey, do this path. You're gonna do it. You can do it. And I did, and I am. And not to say that there aren't challenges with being a business owner. It's not easy every day for sure, but the fact that I can wake up and say, like, I made a difference in that person's life, or like that person has received so much value that has now made a change in their lives. And it's kind of like a little addiction, a good addiction.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't make it that long, like three
Yeah.
years, right? So to be here at 5 years from the moment you
Yeah.
decided to really do this
Yes.
professionally is such an
Yes.
achievement.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So what, tell us a story that can help the listeners like really connect with your energy, like anything that comes
Yeah.
up right now, like no matter how crazy it may seem, like.
Uh, sure. So a lot of times in session, I have always been kind of a open-minded person. Now that my heart is also open and my mind is open, I get what I call downloads, and downloads are little messages that I get from my spirit team. And for those listening, a spirit team can be anyone from God's source to guardian angels to ancestors to spirit guides. We all have a different team and people with us. And so there are times during sessions that I receive downloads, and I don't say I'm getting a download, but a lot of times it's kind of like a little guidance, like, hey, I've been thinking about doing a new activity and I don't know what it is what the clients tell me, and I'm getting a download of seeing water and palm trees and beach. So I just kindly recommend, like, hey, when's the last time that you went to the beach? And maybe we can start going every week to seeing how that changes your energy. And the person will be like, yeah, wow, I've been thinking about the beach. So those type of little things happen to me pretty often in sessions, and I don't make a big deal of it, but I'm also just happy to like extra help. It's like extra help.
Yeah. What a like the tapping into the other person's energy at that
Yeah,
point and receiving
yeah,
those clear messages. It makes a
yeah,
big difference because you have to spend 20 minutes trying to get the thing that
the-
may be best for them, right?
yeah. And sometimes it comes easier. And it's funny, I thought I wouldn't be able to do that virtually because I love people. Like I love the in-person aspect of energy exchange. And I was
Gotcha.
like, I can't do this virtually, but it definitely still happens. I think connection is possible when the person is open and when you're open. And I've learned
That's
that.
right.
I've learned that lesson.
Yeah. I think since COVID, like even people that were doing this type of work in person and then they had to be forced to do it remotely,
Mhm.
so many of them that have been doing this for 30, 40 years are like, I didn't think it was going to be possible. And
Yeah.
it's just as or more powerful sometimes because we are like, what, 2 feet away from each other? And in person, you're like a little more removed.
Yeah,
So
because no,
yeah,
it's been
kind of
a
interesting.
nice added benefit. Like I didn't know what was gonna happen with COVID, like most of us, but I'm happy.
Beautiful. So when yeah, I know you mentioned you have clients from Germany, Ohio, different states, Miami, all over, right? Is there a specific type of person? Like who's your main client?
My avatar, yeah. So
Mhm.
So I used to focus a lot on women, and it's beautiful because I'm a woman and I've had a lot of very specific things that are tied to womanhood. And so I was like, oh, I want to empower and help other women. And as people say, and I didn't believe them, your niche will find you. turns out that I have three different types of people that always find me. One is parents for their teenager. I've had so
Gotcha.
many parents call me, and not even teenager, maybe teenager up until 25, like that little that time span. I've
I got.
had
Mhm.
so many client parents call me and they're like, "Hey, I just saw your website. We just really want our daughter," and it's always been women that to this point. "We really want some help for our daughter." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course," and it's been great. The second one, which was the most surprising, has been men. Men in between 40 and 60 years old that kind of just they weren't even sure what they were looking for, but what I found is that they just need a safe space to express. Like the
To
things that,
express what?
yeah, the things that they can never say, they think they can't say at work, at home, to their partners, to their children, to their
Gotcha.
to their coworkers, like things that they have in their hearts that they feel like, oh, I can't say that. I can't say, which isn't true. They can, they just conditioning, social conditioning, and all the other things have made them become silent with their heart's desires and worries.
Mm.
And I have found the most healing space also for me, and this is how I know that I'm getting goosebumps. I'm so tied to my dharma, to my life's purpose, because it's healing me. Like I've had a rocky relationship with men starting from childhood, and now that I'm helping men heal, it's also healing me. And it's like this beautiful circle of yumminess, and I'm really grateful. So men has been a huge surprise. But my third is women who feel
Do
stuck.
you?
So me, sorry.
Okay. No, I was just going to ask you, when you have those the male archetype clients, do they do the 6 months, or are they shorter in session just because they're men?
Yes, that is actually a really good question. A lot of them aim to do the 6 months. Some of them stop and they just say like, "Hey, I'm good," right? And a lot of things probably happen. Some I've had two that have gone for over a year. So it
Yeah.
depends on the person and like the value that they're getting. And then they go
Yeah.
away and then like a few months later, like, "Hey, can we just talk one time? I just need you right now." And so I'm like, "Of course." So it depends on the person.
I think sometimes people don't really understand. Can we just talk for 30 minutes or 1 hour? Like how powerful that is to be able to have someone that you feel safe, not to be judged, like not to feel judged, right? Because that's a problem. We have a lot
Yeah.
of people around, but how
Mhm.
many of them are we gonna go and say all the crazy things that we have in our minds?
Yeah. You mentioned a key word, safe. And for a long time, I didn't feel safe around men. And so the fact that men are coming to me because they feel safe from me, again, it's like
Yeah,
such a beautiful, beautiful like circle of life moment. And
yeah,
I love it. I love when men break down and become vulnerable and emotional. And it makes me sad because a lot of men feel like they don't have that anywhere else. And so I want, like, it's been such a great learning for me. Like, you know what? We do get to provide that space for a lot of the men in our lives because they feel like they have to always have it together or be strong or whatever it is that they
right.
um
Yeah,
it,
I find the same thing with my male clients, where most of them, very rarely, some of them are going to have that support where they
yeah,
can express without any expectations of, no,
yeah,
you cannot do that because you're supposed to be the strong one here, right? It's very rare to have a male that feel like I have all the support that I need,
yeah,
because otherwise I would be looking for you, right? But
yeah,
it's common in
yeah.
our especially from my heritage, where they don't get to talk about those things. Do you
Same with
see
mine.
a pattern with the type of males that you see? Are they from a specific ethnic background, or is it very diverse?
Background, no, but line of work, yes. Now that you just said that, a lot of them are CEO or C-level executives that have been like in this high power position for over 20, 30 years. And I never put that piece together. Yeah, so that's the common denominator there. It's men that are
Gotcha.
in that role.
Wow, beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful that you are able
Yeah.
to hold that
Yeah.
space for these people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people are not sure what is life coaching. Can
Yeah.
you give us like a definition or like the way that you see life coaching?
Yeah.
Is it just talking, or are you doing exercises with these people? What are you doing with them?
Yeah, so life coaching for me and in the way that I do it is I'm a guide. I am helping you. I am guiding you towards certain goals that you and I in that first session determine. So it's not just like, oh, my life is up in the air. I don't know what to do. No, no, no. It's very, very, very specific. Like you come to me, you have a problem. In the way I hear things, I kind of pinpoint some goals. We agree to the goals. We start working on the goals from day one. And that means a lot of reverse engineering. So let's say the goal is I want to open my business at the end of this year. So I look at December 2024 and I go backwards and I reverse engineer a plan for them. And in that plan, so this is a part about life coaching, I'm going to hold them accountable to that plan, which is where a lot of people, and me too, when we have goals, sometimes we don't reach them because we don't have that support. We don't have someone to talk to about it. We don't have someone checking in like, hey, did you do X, Y, Z? So that's one of the biggest pieces that I do. Like I guide you along that journey. I like to take it a little step further though, because for me, what makes the difference is shifting your mindset. And mindset shifts don't happen overnight. So while talking is great in my sessions, I give people what's called soul work. I call it soul work because it's essentially homework, but it's tied to exactly what we were just talking about in session. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that most of my clients love and hate at times because it makes them dig deeper. But they get to go home and like if they're serious and they really want to shift their lives, they get to work on it. Like it's paper, it's writing, it's crying, it's different kind of exercises, it's getting outside depending on the person. And I tailor all the soul work to each person because I love it. I mean, a lot of people are like, Nat, you do all this. And I'm like, yeah. And at the end of the person, while they've been working with, they're like, you know what, Nat, that one piece of soul work one day, I can't forget it. It has changed my life. And I'm like, wow, I'm really happy to hear that.
Wow. So did I hear you correctly? Let's say, for example, the example that you gave us, somebody wants to open up a business.
Yeah.
You're putting together the business plan for them, or they are putting together their plan?
Yeah. So I've come up with a plan. I call it the roadmap. So it's not the
Okay.
plan, business plan, but it's like, what are all the steps that we need from today until December 2024 to complete? So the entire roadmap. Um, and a lot of it is them doing the work, obviously, right? But I help, it's like putting all the chaos in your mind and on your desk in order. And then
Mm,
I help you go through that order and just goals are more attainable when A, you have accountability partners, and B, you have a clear roadmap. So those are the two things obviously I do in coaching.
gotcha. So how long is that normal session?
A normal session is 55 minutes. When I do have some of these beautiful souls that get very emotional, sometimes I can't just cut it off, right? I'm like, okay, it's time to go. So anywhere between 55 minutes and a little over an hour. Um,
Okay.
because I do holding that space is sacred to me. It's just a sacred thing and it's such a deep connection. And I want to honor them and give them that space. So about an hour, let's just say an hour.
Okay. So because when you were talking about the male energy, I
Yeah.
felt such a deep connection there with you doing this work. Is there anything else there that needs to be expressed for those that are watching and listening this podcast?
There's a lot there. Yes. So
Okay.
I love that these men are finding me because I lost my father. So I feel like I'm able to heal. And my father was an executive and in that world for so many years. So there's like all this correlation of like being able to help other men. And my father didn't
Mm,
have the same outlet and safe space. So that feels really good. Um, I've also just been very hurt by men. And it's been so hard to forgive that.
mm,
I think I forgive a little bit and then I don't. And then it's just been a journey of forgiveness. And when I am in
Yeah.
session, when men come to me for healing and help and guidance, there is all this healing that's happening to me underneath the scenes. And
That's
it's,
right.
it's a gift. And it's just this beautiful gift that I receive while giving someone else value. Like it
Yeah.
is, this is why I get goosebumps. Like it's such a deep connection. And I'm really grateful. And I never saw it
Yeah.
coming. I never saw, when I wrote the copy for my program, for my business plan, for my website, it was women, 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 right? Like I never in a million years imagined when I started this business that I would be coaching men. So it's been the most beautiful gift. And I'm grateful and excited because like what other gifts are there, you know?
Yeah. For those that are looking for a life coach, what are some of the things that you recommend them to look for, to
Yeah.
ask in their interviews, to know how to pick the right life coach for them?
Yeah. I mean, definitely what you just said, shop around. It's kind of like a doctor, right? Like shop around until you feel like you have this level of trust and understanding with the person. In this case, it would be a life coach. Make sure the life coach seems like they're listening to you. Like make sure they're paying attention. Make sure like ask them questions, and I would even test them like, hey, I mentioned something about my childhood. Is that something that we talk about in sessions? Like test them, like see if they're truly listening to you. Because for me, one of the top skills as a life coach is that we get to be active listeners. Without that, there's nothing else. So interview them, see if they're really listening to you, check, like go through and look for more life coaches. But finally, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like you can trust this person? Do you feel like this person has your best interest in mind? Or are they just trying to fill numbers? Or are they just looking for more money? Or which is a part of it, but is that initial feeling one of like trust? And that to me is important.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like to think about there is a huge difference between healing and life coaching.
Mhm.
Like the healing, we see the client as something is needs to be healed. We're gonna release whatever limiting beliefs, and you're not gonna feel that way anymore, hopefully, right? With
Yeah.
life coaching, I almost see it like, as you've been saying, where do we go from here? So the challenges that you bring to the table. It's not that you need to heal them per se, it's just that you need to know how to overcome it, right? So
Yeah.
different expectations of what to get out of and working with a life coach, right? So when you're interviewing for a life coach and you're looking for these things, are you recommending also to look for certain certifications, or I'm wondering like what else can I ask
Yeah.
if we're looking for a life coach?
That's a good question. And some people that I have clarity calls with, they ask me that, are you certified? And of course, I- honestly, there are so many different kinds of certifications today and so many modalities that if that's important to you, for sure, look at it. I honestly, for me personally, I don't find it to be the most important thing. For me, it's
Yeah.
all about the way I feel and connections, but I'm an empath, so everything is based on how I feel. But if like you have to kind of like check in and say, okay, is this right? Like, am I gonna want to tell this person about XYZ? Because it like in anything that any service you pay for when it comes to this, you're only gonna get out how much you put in. So if you hire someone and you're like reserved and not really sharing why you're not attaining that goal, well, if you're here about being more mindful about your eating, then why are you eating chips every night until 10 p.m.? Right? Like you have to put in the work and you have to want to put in the work. Um,
Well,
it,
yeah, and if people are paying, I hope that they are willing to do that,
Mhm.
to put in the work. But I understand what you're saying. Some people well, yeah, sometimes people think that they're ready and they're not ready. Is that
They're
what you're
not.
saying?
Yeah, yes. And then sometimes
Even if
people,
they pay you?
even if they pay me, what happens is it becomes hard. It becomes hard for
Gotcha.
them because while it's not like healing and it's not therapy, it's not so the big two things. The biggest thing is that therapy, for the difference between coaching and therapy focuses on your past and your traumas and like
That's right.
healing the things that happened, past tense. Coaching is, and you said this perfectly, so what happens now? Coaching is for now. Like, okay, you've done some work or you haven't, either one, but you have this thing that you really want to achieve right now. So that's where the coaching comes in. We're not really going to go back there to the past. Sure, in conversations, things will come up, which is normal
Yeah.
and great. But sometimes when a person keeps going back to the trauma, to the thing in the past, and it becomes really, really heavy work, they want to stop because they weren't really ready for that. But that's the thing that they need to get past in order to go forward. So it's such a beautiful fine line. And sometimes I should have gone back and done therapy work. But, you know, for people that I
So
find it do, I recommend going to a therapist or a healer. I've recommended a lot of people to you for you.
so what you're saying is, let me just make sure that I understand,
Yeah.
because I am also a life coach, but I don't do life coaching. Like I do high performance coaching for business owners. So
Yeah.
what the difference is that we don't focus on, like you said, we don't focus on the past, but for me it's easier to be like, okay, what is in the past that is bothering you, so we can resolve this now, because I have that
Yeah.
too. But for someone that doesn't have those skills and people are looking for a life coach and they hit those walls where they cannot get past it, what besides going back to the therapist, is there anything that you're doing with
Yeah.
this, some of
So
this?
that's why I called it soul work. And it's tricky. It's
Okay.
not tricky. It's interesting. So if someone's constantly coming up against the same problem and they can't get past it, I ask, well, where else does this show up in your life? And for how long has
Gotcha.
this been showing up in your life? So in that case, I give them some soul work that deals with where did it start? When did you start feeling insecure? Right? Let's say the person's insecure and like can't get on stage and do her business. Okay, let's delve into that. So I do a lot of exercises about like inner journaling. Well, when did it start? Whose voice do you hear? Are you internal, external voices? Who are you trying to please? All these kinds of things that we can talk about, but I give it to them in the form of soul work because it's quiet. They can do it on their own. And this is where it gets hard. Either they do it and they delve in and they're like, oh my God, that was hard. But wow, I just realized it started when I was 5 years old. And my mom used to tell me I'm not good enough, right? Like they have that like aha moment. Or some people start doing exercise and they're like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to think about that. It's too hard. I don't want to think about that. And that's okay, right? So the clients that I find that are most successful with me are the ones that put in that extra piece of work. And sometimes a lot of my clients also see therapists while they're seeing me, which is great
Yeah.
because again, it's two different types of work. Yeah. And a lot of times,
Mhm.
sometimes I get clients immediately after therapy because it's the same thing. Like, okay, I did all this work. Now what? And
Now
vice
what?
versa. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, love, this seems to be a really, really big pattern in your life that's really difficult. Have you suggested going to see a therapist? And I suggest them to go. So it's beautiful work, and there is a fine line between the healing, the therapy, and the coaching. And the thing is that like the line sometimes blends. And not to say that
Yeah,
I'm a
I
therapist, and
do.
I'm not a therapist, but can I give you some soul work and a journal prompt that says, hey, when did you start experiencing XYZ? Sure. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to hear you said that you're not a therapist, even though you have done some of that
Yeah.
work.
Well, and it's funny because it's called talk therapy. Essentially, what we're doing in session is talking the entire hour. We're just talking. Then the word is talk therapy, but it's not therapy in a sense of I'm psychoanalyzing everything you're saying and we're gonna go to the root of the problem and fix it today. Like if it shows up, it shows up, and I think that's healthy, but you get to work on that on your own time. We're working on the goal, whatever the goal is between me and the
Gotcha.
client.
Okay, that sounds definitely clear, I hope, for those that are
Yeah, I
listening.
hope so. I mean,
I
talking,
mean, because I maybe I asked you too many questions in regards to that and it got confusing.
no, I think it's good to clarify. People ask me this question pretty often, actually. And it's good to understand the difference in that I'm not a therapist and you're not gonna be psychoanalyzed every session, and we're not gonna go into your fears, deepest, darkest things from the past. But I'm also not gonna shun them and not address them if it comes up. But it's not the
Right.
focus. I guess the biggest thing is that does never becomes the focus of our sessions. It can be a subtopic, sure, but the focus always is, all right, let's come back to the goal. And if this obstacle showed up, I'm happy to help you talk about it. And let's keep going back to the goal and how we can do the goal.
Beautiful. So for those people that are listening and want to reach out to you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Ooh, Instagram. Instagram, and it's _nvibe_tribe. And Instagram kind of has all my videos and links, and you can see if you like me or not, which is also good. You need to feel comfortable with people that you work with. That's the biggest thing I want people to take away. Like, you have to trust them at some level. You have to want to put in the work, and you have to feel good with the person. So you can check me out there, see if you like my vibe. If not, cool. If yes, even better. I'm not for everyone, right? And just like you aren't for everyone, like, we are here to serve the people we're here to serve. And I'm so grateful about the ones that have found me. I love my
Oh, that
clients.
was
I get attached, even though I'm not supposed to. I get attached, and then it's like
that was,
graduation. And I'm
and
like,
then
no.
what?
And then it feels like graduation when they're like done with their packages, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna be okay. You're putting you out into the world, and they are okay, right? And then sometimes they come back too, which is great.
Well, yeah, we go through different stages in our life, right? And if I already have a very strong connection to you, why would I go find somebody else when I need you? So it is no similar to traditional therapy where hopefully when you're done, you're done and you don't want to go back, right? But even in that situation, it happens because we go through the different stages. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think that was beautifully said.
Thank
Anything
you.
else you want to share before we close for today?
No, other than thank you, Victoria, for holding this space and for making me cry like you're so good at doing. But I love crying. I used to hide my emotions, and now I'm done with that. Talk about mindset shifts. No, thank you for listening. Reach out to me. The first call is always free in the sense of like it's an interview between the both of us. So feel free to reach out if you know someone that needs help. If you are stuck, it's where I excel. So reach out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you. That was